Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Multibeda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. We are here with the Gita, chapter 6. Last class, we were going through a few pages. I guess we came around page 1230. Did you make any sign, Mark?
No, I didn't make a sign. I generally leave the text open on the page that we're at. Yeah, and I got it at 1229, page 1229.
Okay.
Yeah, we could have got to 1230.
Okay. Yeah, okay, let's begin from here. So we are looking at the meditation chapter of the Gita, in which Vedanta presents two objects of meditation. One is the Saguna Brahman, and the other is Nirguna Brahman. And then as far as the meditation on Nirguna Brahman, which is not the Nididhyasana of the Upanishads, so it is something that was somehow borrowed or extracted from the Patanjali's system of yoga. And Swami Paramarthananda has present us with beautiful regards in respect to this system as a means to purify and prepare the mind. So, and then we looked into all those different 8 steps of the system of Patanjali's, and being the last few, the most condensing it to the last stage in which you enter into the real meditation, dhyāna itself. Before you were doing some general preparation, observing, dharma, and behaving in harmony with the laws and principles, structuring this apparent order and so on. You go through all of that, and then you have your good lifestyle, a lifestyle that gives room for dhyāna or meditation, saguna or nirguna, and then having all of that in place, and then we go into the meditation itself. And then the meditation itself fundamentally goes through 3 stages. One is the effort to bring the mind to your object of meditation. And then the second is an effort, of keeping the mind on that object of meditation, but that requires effort, discipline, okay? The first is to pulling the mind from the world and bring to your object of meditation. And then the second, and holding the mind on your object of meditation, and it is always related to some mental concepts or mental activity or intellectual activity. If it's Saguna Brahman, and then it's the nature of Saguna gods, and then I keep my mind around those, try to grasp it, somehow deep inside this nature of this Saguna God as the creator. And then if we move into the Nididhyasana, again, it requires mental or intellectual activity, remembering the final teachings of the Vedas, which is all about identity, declarations of one's identity as Nirguna God, which is the real God. Yes. So the first we go through a certain, bring the mind to a representative of God, a symbol of God. And Swami Paramarthananda here and there gives some example. The most simple and clear to the point one is, if you want to think of your nation, you have a flag. So the flag of your nation, represents your nations. And then every time you look at that, you remember, oh, my nation, So the same way you have a symbol of Nirguna Brahman. And then the symbol, this flag is Saguna Brahman. It can be my private personal deity, or it can be Ishvara as the full manifestation held by its laws and principle, which is much more sophisticated vision, which is the vision of the Karma Yoga, which is very advantage yoga, Karma Yoga, because you have to go through all names and forms, and you have to go through all different benefits you can get from this deity, that deity, and then you just hold Ishvara as pure intelligence, and it's available as the manifest environment we see around us. And every time you see this environment, you see the laws and principles extremely precisely intelligent, holding it in place, for some purpose. And this is the ultimate vision of Saguna Brahman. It is the intelligence that holds this manifestation in place in such a supreme, way. I mean, it's so much knowledge built into it. So, howsoever, the mind is going to rebel against being disciplined to stay focused, because the nature of the mind is to wander, as we know. So the mind is wandering here and there, here and there, here and there. We keep bringing it back to our object of meditation. The first step in this final stage is to remove to just the worldly thoughts come into place. You bring it to your object of meditation. Vedanta has made it very clear. Swamiji has made it very clear that in order to call it really dhyānam, not physical, not a mental exercise to gain focus, not a mere mental exercise to gain focus, but if you call it dhyāna, it must be with using an object of meditation, which is the creator, which is God. And only then it's said to be dhyāna. Dhyāna is a religious sadhana, you understand? Spiritual religious sadhana. So you have to, every time we talk about spirituality, spiritual sadhana, people do not really read the words when they say my spiritual sadhana, my spiritual sadhana. They may do just a meditation which involves looking at the wall, for hours and hours and hours, or just looking at the tip of my nose without any connection with the creator. So anything that we do like that is just an exercise. What makes somebody really spiritual is once one starts using any spiritual effort, associating it to God. And why? Why in the beginning we use Saguna God? Because the mind is not subtle enough to understand Nirguna God. We begin with Saguna God. At least we have brought the creator into our equation of life. So I'm the creature, this is the creation, and then I brought the creator. I want to focus on the creator. Why? Because I need to focus on something. Why I don't focus on this principle which somehow brought about this apparent universe, as we know in Vedanta. So we bring God, and then we are in the field of religious, spiritual sadhana. Before that is just exercise. And then we bring Saguna Brahman, Saguna Ishvara. Why? Because it's easier, it's more tangible. It's easier for the mind to wrap itself around the concept of a God, which is colored by the attributes or the gunas of Maya. But why this meditation Saguna Brahman? No meditation is going to liberate the jiva, especially meditation that left Ishvara or God or the creator out of itself. But a sadhana that involves God yet does not liberate the individual soul. Why? Because ultimately the only liberation is gained by doing the sadhana of dhyāna on the nirguna nature of Brahman. Why? Because you can love God in its attribute nature as Saguna Brahman, you can love him or her howsoever you do, and that is going to give comfort to the mind and so on. But as we know, we need to get down to the true nature of this Saguna God. Only then we can just be free by understanding that my fundamental nature as Jiva Atma is identical to Ishvara Atma or Brahma Atma or Paramatma. You understand? So we need to go all the way to Nirguna nature of God, because only there I can identify my very Nirguna nature, my Nirguna Atma nature as Jiva Atma. So the only solution is to go all the way down to understand my limitless nature, because freedom is only possible once we understand our limitless nature as one without a second, the only reality. So all of that to say that when we go to whatsoever dhyāna practice or sadhana, we are dealing with aspects of the Creator that makes us a spiritual, religious person. And then at the beginning, the mind is going to be wandering because it has a lot of momentum due to vasanas, build up of vasanas that somehow create all these mental impressions that brings about all these thoughts in regards to the world. So we're going to have some trouble. We keep bringing it back. And then once we got that somehow taken care, the mind remains more and more focused. And then it's said that the other aspect of this sadhana is, which not much different from the first aspect, is to hold it in there, Yeah? So those are the, and then the last aspect of it all is samadhi. Samadhi is like, in the beginning, you have to bring the mind back. Second, you hold the mind there. The mind is staying there, but still requires your effort and discipline. And the third aspect is when discipline and effort is no longer needed because the mind got trained or educated to hold on to its very nature, okay? And again, so why it feels so good when we have the mind sitting, so to speak, on its fundamental true nature as Nirguna Atma, is because it feels good to be natural. Okay, what is one's nature? One's nature is something that once I am in total harmony with, I feel comfortable. If I'm always going against my nature, I'm going to be disturbed all the time and disturb my environment. So nature is that by which or with which once conform to my nature, and then I feel comfort. Everything that is in nature creates discomfort. So we need to ultimately go to that state called samādhi, in which I am resting in my true nature effortlessly. But before that comes, we need to bring forth our effort. And we need knowledge, because effort alone is not strong enough, as we know. Hi, Felipe. We are doing a little bit of a summary of what we did before, because I was waiting you and Lynn to come, because maybe you guys did not see the note in our WhatsApp. Okay, we have seen the 8 steps of a sangha, of what is it? You said 2.9, huh? 2.8, 2.9, okay. I have become one with the object of meditation, and this absorption, beginning of page 1230. I have become one with the object of meditation. This absorption, I end up forgetting even my surrounding. I forget the fact that I'm in a particular place doing this job or doing that. This is the absorption. That self-forgetfulness is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. In the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, also thoughts are there. Meditator is there, but because of the absorption, both are not prominently felt. Okay, so it clears all kinds of doubts in regards to the previous paragraph. Okay, so what is Nirvikalpa Samadhi? Is absorption in thoughts, concepts around my true nature, my true nirguna nature as one without a second, Satchidananda Brahman or consciousness. And I'm so absorbed because when we are in something that somehow is so pleasant, is so peaceful, we easily get absorbed, So we naturally, absorbed in that to the extent that we even forget our surrounding. But that does not stop us from being there and holding those thoughts. The thoughts about Aham Brahmasmi, they become subconscious. They are not really conscious, but it's still there. And therefore, the ego is not prominently felt. The ego is just something that, you are not really feeling at that point because you are totally absorbed in your superior nature as Satchitananda Brahman. So the ego is just left behind. But you are present. There is consciousness there. There is human consciousness there. You forgot your inferior nature. You were totally soaked in the nature of Nirguna Brahman as your very nature. In Panchadasi, Vidyarani, hi Lynn, sorry, I was just doing a general summary of what we have done. We began 10-15 minutes ago, and I was waiting for you because probably you did not see my request there in the page of WhatsApp, but never mind, we just began here. In Panchadasi, page 1230. In Panchadasi, Vidyaranya beautifully say, we never talk about thoughtless state in Vedanta. Even in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, thoughts are there. They are not felt because I am so absorbed in my higher nature, I'm so absorbed in my attributeless nature. The thoughts are so subtle because my nature is that which is the most subtle of the subtle. But thoughts are there. They are extremely subtle because my nature, my true nature is extremely subtle, which is different from the concept of Nirvikalpa Samadhi as the disappearance of the meditator and the mind and the object of meditation, which is different from that, okay? In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, this Nirvikalpa Samadhi, this Vedantic Nirvikalpa Samadhi is the consequence of the final, all eight steps, Astanga Yoga Palam. Is the final fruit, fructification. So we have seen those 8 steps, and they go through many different stages to culminate with the final stage, which I have mentioned beginning our class today, which is Dhāraṇa, dhyāna, and samādhi. Once we have everything in place, and then all I have to do is to sit and educate my mind to stay focused on the nature of Brahman as my very nature, or as the nature of Saguna Brahman before I can own my identity with Saguna Brahman as Nirguna Atma. So Dhāraṇa, dhyāna, and samādhi. Samādhi is the culmination of this process, which is described by Swamiji as a homogeneous flow of thoughts. Nididhyasana, it's this meditation, homogeneous flow of similar thoughts around my superior nature as Nirguna Atma. Those thoughts are very subtle, as I'm just repeating myself, because my nature is the most subtle. And here, the only difference is Krishna is not talking about meditation on a personal God. Krishna is talking about Atma dhyāna, meditation on my own true nirguna nature as nirguna Atma. This we can apply for personal God also, but here the theme is not Krishna, Rama, or any other deity, but it's my very Atma. We are in the field of Nididhyasana, Vedanta Nididhyasana. When we think about the attributes of Saguna Brahman, the thoughts are a little bit more denser. When we think of the attributeless nature of Brahman, the thoughts are very, very subtle. There are not many thoughts, actually, but there is some elements there which represent the nature of Nirguna Atma, and I can hold to those pointers until I see how factual those short descriptions are in regards to my true nature as Nirguna Atma. And then I'm going to be holding to my real nature until my real nature is totally, clearly, firmly revealed to me as a fact. It's self-revealing thoughts. There are several meditations, mantras in our tradition, helping us to hold on to our Nirguna Atma nature, which is different from the attributes of Krishna, Rama, and many others. So in our tradition, many of these statements are supplied. I am not the body. I'm not the mind. I'm not the sense organs. I'm not even these thoughts, but I am the witness consciousness, which is of the nature of Chidanam Darupaha. There are several contemplations or verse, pointing to our nature. They were written along the millenniums by several of our acharyas, teachers, gurus in our tradition. If we do not know to utilize it, if we do not know to there is something missing there. If we do not how to utilize it, our ready-made. Okay, it's saying like we have some slogans or some declarations. If we don't know how to tap into it and create our own declarations of identity, there are some ready-made in the scriptures, which were presented to us by acharyas, along centuries and millenniums. For this, Krishna gives an example, the example of a stead flame. So here, another analogy or an example, a stead flame, which is not disturbed with the thoughts, the mind, the wind. When there is a flame in an enclosure, which is protected by the breeze, the flame there, you might have watched it remains without flickering. Similarly, in dhyānam, my mind continuously thinks on my asanga nature. Okay, so you're going to hold on to thoughts. I think I mentioned that last week, that you can even have samadhi doing saguna upasana, okay, or meditating upon the saguna nature of Brahman. You can have this flow of similar thoughts that are going to absorb you, okay? So that is a kind of samadhi, but that samadhi does not really liberate the individual, because there is still duality, I and the attribute, and the Brahman with attributes, which is my deity. But once I move into I and Nirguna Brahman as identical to my Nirguna Atma, and then, only then, there is room for liberation, moksha, because I'm meditating or using several declarations of my identity with Nirguna Atma, Nirguna Brahman. Among several of them, there is this one: I am of a sangha nature, I am of a karta nature, I am of a nirvikara nature. And there are examples, that somehow serve as analogy for these things. There are, I am like space, I am like the light. There are so many aspects, passages in our scriptures with the teachings that we need to do the famous nididhyasana. So it's good material for nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is meditation on myself, as pointed out by those descriptions presenting the teachings, So I'm free from bondage, I'm free from problems, nothing concerns me in my true nature. All these suggestions, points to your essence, which comes from this verse 18 on that we're going to enter now, I believe. Yeah. Now, the most beautiful part, he's going to be suggesting beautiful aspects of Nirguna Brahman, which is the purpose, the ultimate purpose of Upasana is to take us to Nididhyasana. So we're going to see that from the verse 18 onwards up to the 19. Deals with dhyāna, dhāraṇa, dhyāna, samādhi. The exact meaning we'll see in the next class. The next class came. It's now. It's today. Let's do it. After discussing the general specific preparations, and then we moved into the dhyāna svarūpam, which is, let's go now, since we have done the pre-prep work and then the pre-work, we have everything in place. Now we're going to understand what is the nature of meditation. And in this process of meditation consists of 3 stages, as we have seen. The very, very process and nature of meditation is described as dhāraṇa, dhyāna, and samādhi. So dhāraṇa is focusing the mind upon our object of meditation, which is nothing but entertaining a thought dealing with my object of meditation. Oh, you can choose, yes, but it needs to be a symbol of God. Oh, really? I love to meditate upon my new girlfriend, my new boyfriend. I say, no, that will not do, because you may even have samādhi there, but it's going to be a very uncomfortable samādhi, because anything you get concentrating upon, which is changing, which is not reliable, is going to create a sense of insecurity and disturbance. So my object of meditation must be a symbol of God. When I focus the mind upon this only in the form of relevant thought modification, there is no other focusing of the mind. So this is the goal of a pure focused mind, trained mind through this process of dhāraṇa, dhyāna, which conduces to the natural state of absorption in one's nature as the self. In Sanskrit, we call it vriksha akara, mean tree. Akara means in the form of a vrit, means a thought modification. And when I entertain this vrit, my mind is focused on that. So there is a lot of Sanskrit here, and I don't want to go into that right now. Ishvara akara vritti is focusing on Ishvara. So you can focus on anything like a tree, yeah? But our goal is to focus on Brahman. Atma Kara Vritti is focusing on the Atma, so which is the ultimate object of meditation. At that point, meditation is referred by Nididhyasana. So whenever I want to focus the relevant Avara Vritti, that is the effort called dhāraṇa. So I have to make an effort to bring my mind to that. And thereafter, try to retain my thought in that object of meditation. And then we are dealing with dhāraṇa. I hope I am interpreting these things correctly. I'm passing. Okay. So we try to retain it, and then we're in the field of the dhyānam. Afterward, trying to retain is dhyāna. And then because every thought has got a momentary life. So here he brings something, a nice insight here. He says that, so the thoughts, they come from the impressions. They are there as tendencies of vasanas or subtle memories in the subconscious mind. They are going to give us a lot of trouble. Therefore, they need to be there doing the dhāraṇa, which is bring the mind back to the thought I want to contemplate upon. So trying to retain this flow of the same thought is not so easy. Why? And then he says, let's see, because now, let me see. Vriksha, akara, vrich can stand for a moment alone, because every thought has got only a momentary life. So this called my attention because, as we know, the thoughts, they appear and disappear, appear and disappear. So if it was not for the fact that they appear, disappear one after the other, we could say, take it easy because it comes and goes. But if it just, they kind of link one to another, and then in a flow of continuous thoughts about the world, about something other than my object, the vrit, the modification I want is around the notions, the concepts of God. So he says that because every thought has got a momentary life, no thought can exist forever. It comes and goes. Therefore, dhyānam, meditation, what I try is, after entertaining those akara vrits, I try to have a next vrit also. Vriksha, akara, vrit also. Vriksha, akshara, vrit, again and again. This is technically called sajatiya. So let me see if I can make any sense of this process here, because it's broken down in details using a lot of Sanskrit. So the process here is to make it almost as if until you have the mind totally absorbed in that flow of thoughts around the nature of God. So it's going to be breaking up, because every thought it breaks up. You understand? So, but let it break up, but let it be a continuation of these broken up thoughts in regards to the nature of God. Okay, I think that's what he's pointing out here. So retain it there, and no thought can So I try to have a next vrit also of the same nature. Vriksha, akara, vrit also. Vriksha, akara, vrit also. This is technically called something in Sanskrit, which is training the mind to go back to have the same thought in regards to your object of meditation, which is God. So technically, you are just using the thought is not remaining there forever. They keep breaking up, but you keep similar thoughts, and in regards to your object of meditation. That's how you create the flow of similar thoughts, each thought dealing with the same object of meditation. So the thoughts come and go, come and go, come and go. Create a flow of similar thought means to say, let it break down again and again, but keep it of the same nature. Saguna Brahman or Nirguna Brahman, but let these thoughts, because the thoughts can never exist continuously. It's a break up process. This is what I understand from this passage here. This attempt is called dhyānam. Attempt to create this flow of similar thoughts around the nature of God. As a result of this attempt, it involves effort, of course. So in the beginning, the effort is to bring the mind and then to hold the mind, knowing that the thoughts break again and again, but you keep those similar thoughts until you create an environment, an atmosphere of similar thoughts. And that, of course, involves effort, initiative, determination, deliberation. If a person follows naturally, after some time, the mind gets into the groove of a similar thinking, sheerly by habit, which you can experience if you have attended Akanda Nana Bhajana. So let's see what it is. In Akanda Nana Bhajan, the same nama is repeated. I love bhajans, so I used to love bhajans and kirtans and this and that. So you stay there, and there is this, this repetition, Hari Brahma, Hari Rama, and that repetition somehow creates such an environment, such an atmosphere, And it's easier when you have a group, you have a musical band playing, and so on. The mind gets into the groove of these similar thoughts in nature, and then you create the proper atmosphere. This Akananda Nana Bhajan, either Hari Rama, or Om Namah Shivaya, which was so common there in Tiruvannamalai. I mean, it's so nice. I remember walking there, and then you meet someone, instead of saying hi, you say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. That was so beautiful. Same name. Okay. If the mind repeats these mantras for 1 hour, then the mind gets into that groove, and that thought pattern is registered in the subconscious mind, like the children winding the key for the toy car. So they go on doing that. So I guess it is the thing that you turn, and then the car starts moving. There is a spring there or something. That spring action, is created there. Similarly, that deliberately entertained thoughts around the nature of God gets deeply registered in the subconscious mind. And that's why after the Akanda Nama, you go home. At the home, you may be doing varieties of activities, but in the background, you have Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Rama. So, in fact, if a particular advertisement song is played in the TV, sometimes it enters in your mind, and when you see it's playing there in the background. This is mind control. It's much used, and which is not the purpose of these teachings of Vedanta. It's not to create just a program, but it's to create an atmosphere in which the individual can be properly qualified to go to recognize one's true nature, which is not programmable, so to speak. The mind has this capacity to form vasanas, impressions. It happens by itself. No, our environment is going to bombard us, or we're going to select the ways we want to bombard ourselves to create impressions of vasanas, which are going to be conducive to my self-inquiry, self-knowledge, and moksha. No? Ultimately, it's all vasana formation. Some vasanas are going to help me to free myself from samsara, and some vasanas are going to keep me bound to samsara. No? These vasanas, these samskaras, means vasanas by the strength of that vasana, that particular thought pattern continues. It is like for pedaling a cycle for some time, as we know. it takes some momentum, and then the initial effort was the most difficult part, and then afterwards it's easy to maintain that movement. No, so the same thing happens with the cycle of our thoughts. Once we have developed the vritti, which is in harmony with my true nature, no? And I do that by willpower. So we were saying that at the beginning of the class today that we want to be governed by vasanas or modifications in consciousness, which is harmonious with my true nature, because everything that's natural gives a sense of peace, satisfaction, and freedom. Anything that is unnatural gives us a feeling, a sense of disturbance and pain and suffering. So we want to, by willpower, to develop the such environment, you know, and this requires effort to create that momentum. This vritti, which is, it takes tremendous effort at the beginning, is called sukshma vritti, okay? So the vasanas, they are usually formed effortlessly because we get it from our environment, okay? We get programmed through our environment. We come with some vasanas, which is our causal mind or subconscious mind or unconscious mind. We bring those impressions already, but then we continue the process by being programmed by our environment. You know? And it's a process that happens almost effortlessly. But to create a new cycle of vasanas requires tremendous effort to create that momentum. This effort is called sukshma vritti, okay? It's like deliberately thinking about your higher nature so that you can have thoughts in harmony with your nature. Any vritti that occurs in our mind without deliberate effort is called sukshma vritti. Every vritti that takes place without effort is sukshma vritti. I think I misread it in the beginning. All the vrittis without our deliberate conscious effort is called sukshma vritti. The Om Namah Shivaya, for example, mantra, which goes in your head throughout the day, is a sukshma vritti. Sukshma vritti means what subtle thoughts, and when the subtle thought is taking place in your mind, you are not even aware of that. Okay, he's saying that once the vasana is formed, it goes by itself without any effort, okay? So when we say that our goal is to cultivate, develop, and effortless maintain vasanas around our higher nature, it means so you are creating a different kind of sukshma vrittis, yeah? Which kind of sukshma vrittis? This time in total harmony with your nature. How so? Because those are vrittis extract from the teachings, revealed teachings in the Upanishads and Vedanta, which is just vrittis for you to contemplate because they represent your true nature. So it's everything is sukshma vritti, but this Om Namah Shivaya, for example, is going to play effortlessly once it's well established as a vasana, which is conducive to the harmonization between your mind and your true nature. It's a good way to put your thoughts about yourself and your true nature. Know that these vasanas, these shukma vitris, they happen in the subconscious mind. You are not even aware of that because you are not focusing your attention on that. It's already established in the background. And this is called absorption in a particular sort pattern. And in this absorption, this subject-object effort division is not felt, okay? So we were talking about that today before we began our class. Now I was chatting with Mark, and Mark was saying that he started feeling moments that he does not need to put up effort because he feels that he's the Atma and that feels really good or something like that, And that is the ultimate fruit that we're going to get from this Vedantic process, okay? So the effort and discipline and vigilance is no longer that much necessary because we have developed deep vasanas around our true limitless nature. So it's there working for us 24/7, as we say, once it grows into the causal body, okay? So it is an absorption. You are there, you are doing other things, but somehow, subconsciously, you never forget your nirguna nature as Satchitananda. Yeah? This is what we call absorption, and absorption is something close to what is said to be a samadhi. Samadhi can be sitting in your meditation room, contemplating on your higher nature and enjoying the sense of limitless nature it brings with it. But it can be walking, doing your work in the fields or in the office or in your house, having that Shukuma Vritti on the background, subconsciously, provide you with the joy and satisfaction, peace of living in harmony with your true nature, your superior nature. So there will be no division between I and my state and I and my sadhana, I and my thoughts. No, this division, subject-object, is not even felt. Exactly as in deep sleep state, in sleep state, the subject-object division is no longer felt. But there is a thought modification taking place even in deep sleep. It is not a deliberately entertained thought, but it happens even in the deep sleep. How do you know that there is a thought taking place in the deep sleep? That is $1 million question, It's not a deliberate entertained thought, but it happens in deep sleep. How do I know that? Because upon waking up, we say, wow, I had such a wonderful deep sleep today. Huh? So if I say that, there was somebody home to register that, okay? It's just that the prana vritti is so subtle and subconscious that we don't feel it. And the same way, the subconscious thoughts or mental environment, aham brahmasmi, is not really much felt consciously, but it's there, provide you with the satisfaction and happiness to live, All of that is called sukshma vritti. And it is this sukshma vritti, which is a subtle thought which registers the experience in the deep sleep. And we have a lot of parallels between the deep sleep and the nirvikalpa samadhi, pointed out by a lot of people who have an experience of nirvikalpa samadhi, by yanis, such as Ramana Maharaj, for example. So the mind is there, it's dormant, but seen from the standpoint of Vedanta, nirvikalpa samadhi is a state in which that momentum, that aham brahmasmi, that sense of identity as nirguna atma, as one without a second, is still there. provide the experience of Anandamaya kosha, and the individual does not even need to go unconscious. It remains conscious, but forgetting about the ego, forgetting about the self, but totally absorbed or immersed in this bliss of samādhi, of nature state, in nirvikalpa samādhi. Okay, Vedantic nirvikalpa samādhi, there is still a thought there, such as there is a thought in deep sleep as well. We have seen several texts, I think, with you as well in English language that describes the subtle difference between deep sleep state and then yogi nirvikalpa samādhi and the Vedantic nirvikalpa samādhi. Vedanta nirvikalpa samādhi is a state in which these vrittis around our true nature, as nirguna atma, are present, and they remain there, creating the environment of great peace and satisfaction, which is registered. Therefore, people want to go back to nirvikalpa samādhi again and again, the same way people want to go back to a beautiful state of deep sleep. And that's possible as sahaja samādhi throughout our waking state. We have this, momentum in our subconscious mind, providing us with the satisfaction and happiness to live, and appreciation for this miracle of life, and so on. So a similar concept. And then he says, now the same thing can happen with regard to any thought, including aham brahmasmi vritti as well. Therefore, after we do dhāraṇa and dhyānam, so when the deliberate thought gets the momentum, I have to educate my mind so much to think in harmony with my nirguna nature, limitless nature. So it creates a momentum. After some time, the effort will no longer be required because of the momentum created, through my efforts. The thought aham brahmasmi continues, and that thought is called sukshma vritti as well, but this is a good one. This is a good vasana, okay? And self-knowledge is not only a new vasana, but you need a new vasana so that you can live from the standpoint of that mental atmosphere, which is thinking of your true limitless nature as nirguna atma, until that is retained as a hard, firm, and solid, unforgetful, true nature, through your waking states, dealing with many other vrittis in regards to the world. So I'm trying to make a distinction that moksha is not just a vasana or a program that says you are limitless consciousness, but that vasana, that program that feels good. That's why Vedanta makes such a subtle distinction between the experiential aspect and knowledge, self-knowledge. Because if you develop this vasana, if you develop this, what's the expression here? This sukshma vritti, this profound, effortless tendency, of vritti or modification. If you develop that, and then you're going to have what? A very nice experience, a sense of limitlessness, because you are thinking of yourself in harmony with your true nature, your higher nature. But then if that does not sink in properly, you're going to need to keep feeding this vasana, you understand? Feeding this vasana, because you are just getting the experiential fruits of it. So the goal is not to remain dependent, on a certain subtle action, which is development of a vasana, okay? But you need the vasana until that experience and peace and satisfaction is converted into a clear, doubtless understanding of your true nature as a fact. You understand? And then you don't need to work to maintain that sukshma vritti. You understand that vasana, the vasana is properly established because it is no longer something that requires you effort until you believe. It remains now as a fact. But in the beginning, we do effort to create these momentums. After some time, the will is not required, the effort is not required, and therefore, because of the sheer momentum, the thought continues, and that thought is called sukshma vritti, in which the subject-object division, meditator and meditation division disappears, but it's not manifest at that time. It's there, but it's not manifest at that time. And this state of the sukshma vritti continuation, this state of the subtle thought continuation is called absorption or samādhi, okay? Samādhi, a flow of homogeneous, similar thoughts around your true nature. So you do that until you do not need to do it anymore. Since the division is now manifest in that state, it's called nirvikalpa samādhi. Nirvikalpa significa no division, a state in which there are no divisions. What are the divisions? Subject, object, and instrument division. Subject, object, and the instrument that brings about the division, subject and object. When we say that it is a state of no division, we do not mean that divisions are absent, but we say that divisions are in unmanifest form. They are there, but they are suppressed. They are just irrelevant. So, and one of the Vedanta Acharya gives the example of water in which salt is dissolved. In that water, salt is there because I myself have added the salt. But since it has become one with the water, experientially, salt is not there. Experientially means visibly, salt is not there. No, if you drink, you're going to experience the salt. But as an analogy, so you have brought salt into the water. The water now, the salt is invisible. It's there, but it's not experienced anymore visibly. Yeah? In the same way, in absorption, thoughts are there, such as the salt in the water, but the thoughts are like dissolved salt. They are there, they are capable of doing their functions, but they are not dominantly experienced. Beautiful. Such a state is called nirvikalpa samādhi. And Krishna wants to talk about dhāraṇa, dhyāna, and samādhi in this next verse. So I suggest that we do a little nididhyasana in this little passage because it's very subtle, very profound, okay? And I'm gonna reread this one because I did not read it today. And then we're gonna get back from this next Friday because this is very profound and I highly recommend you guys read it again and do some contemplation on it. Okay? Any questions? Any contributions? Any complaints? Okie dokie. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste, my dear friends. We meet again Monday with our Mandukya Karika. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Alindo. Bye now.